Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out 2-sentence horror. Story 1. There is a theory that the afterlife is just the last sensations you feel but stretched out for eternity. If that's true, then I'll be feeling nothing but pleasure knowing those kids will be tortured for eternity. Story 2. Halfway through my journey I took out my phone and pretended to be in a heated argument with my daughter. I didn't want the taxi driver to know that I could hear the muffled screams coming from the trunk. Story 3. I was using an Ouija board and for fun I asked the spirits why they were still lingering here instead of going to heaven. The fun ended when it spelled out, HEAVEN IS NOT WHAT YOU THINK IT IS. Story 4. When I ventured deeper into the cave I looked back hoping to see the exit from where I was. It was gone, as I saw a figure dash across the pathway. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 5. Honey, I checked and there are no ghosts in your closet, you can go to sleep now. Technically I didn't lie since the thing I saw in there definitely wasn't a ghost. Story 6. 2 days after the plane crashed on the mysterious island, miraculously a transmission was received. But instead of the chipper voice of Wavy and the tired but enthusiastic voice of Harold over the transmission, there were 2 masculine, not quite human, and slightly seductive voices begging to have more visitors. Story 7. I returned home to a clean kitchen, which was very nice for a change. I even threw away that disgusting old cooking oil that you kept in a jar, right down the drain, my partner said proudly. Story 8. The elderly couple stares at me while aggressively smiling as I scan unconsciously their items. As I look down to see why the usual beeping sound was missing, I notice that this type of bloody meat has never been on sale. Story 9. Did you know that one lung is bigger than the other? Maybe being told that fun fact didn't make my OCD too happy. Story 10. I felt a hand on my shoulder as if to comfort me. I should have listened when I was told the reason for the reduced price on that rental. Story 11. Impatient. The label on the pills clearly says to wait 12 hours between each dose, but I'm tired now, so I'm gonna take the second dose 2 hours early. Within seconds of swallowing, a loud thud sounded behind me, and I turned to view my lifeless body on the bathroom floor. Story 12. May 16, 2023. I peel long strips of skin from wherever I can reach. The soft flesh underneath stings, but now that I've started, I can't stop. Story 13. Genetic analysis indicated that the newborn had absorbed his own sibling, causing him to have 2 sets of DNA, but it didn't seem to have had any adverse effects on him. The issue was rather that his sibling had been 4 years old. Story 14. Kid Santa, that bag looks really big and heavy, do you need me to help? Santa, you'll only make it heavier, kiddo. Story 15. My husband was so happy when he found out I was pregnant after a year of constantly trying for a baby. The thought that I have to tell him what his brother did to me a few months back at his birthday party is killing me inside, but I was too ashamed and broken to reach out to anyone. Story 16. Mom told me that the top bunk is mine and the bottom bunk is yours, I shouted when I woke up and found my older brother asleep beside me on the top bunk. Stop yelling in the middle of the night, asshole, I heard my older brother's sleepy voice from the bottom bunk. Story 17. I decided to take a DNA test to find out who my biological parents were. I wasn't sure what to expect, but one would reasonably assume that their parents would be human. Story 18. The engineered bacteria able to convert iron into gold was hailed as a marvel of modern science, realizing the dream of ancient alchemists. Then the lab spill allowed them out into the water, and now they are in our blood and it is only a matter of time. Story 19. As I sat on my bed with my aching eyes, I desired nothing more than to close them and drift away into sleep. But every time I close them, it moves closer to me. Story 20. When my daughter came out of the bathroom, the whole family clapped and cheered, and I handed her a bill. We've tried being reasonable with her, but she continues to purge all the perfectly good food her mother makes, so we'll shame her and make her pay for it until she stops. Story 21. We were all shocked when my aunt was killed by her roommate in the nursing home. Had it not been for her schizophrenia, we might have believed her about the threats, and we could have done something before it was too late. Story 22. "Welp," said my neighbor, "it's time to hit the sack." I screamed out in agony and struggled against my restraints as he brought the baseball bat down over and over again. Story 23. Please read this. Because you're next. Story 24. You know that little voice that whispers to you to do that random thing? Staring at the photo of me asleep in bed I found after climbing the stupid tree, I have to wonder just whose voice it is. Story 25. It's just a prank, bro, relax. That was the last thing we expected to hear from God when we asked why humankind existed. Story 26. After 5 days seeing my mom and dad walking toward me, I cry out for help. I can't go back to the cage. Story 27. For the first time in her life she forgot about her preparations for Friday the 13th. Exhausted from the 3 days of labor, her body bleed out on the hospital floor as the staff tended her newborn in the NICU. Story 28. I finally got the courage to tell my parents about my identity, hoping they'd accept me. The stinging welt across my face says more than any words could, though. Story 29. Through the pain, tears and blood I continue to push the screwdriver deeper into my ears. I can still hear them. They aren't in the attic, they're in my head. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 30. I was cooking a Thanksgiving turkey and went to check on my 28-day-old baby. In the crib I saw a raw turkey. Story 31. As the family gathered around the decorated tree, they noticed a forgotten gift box with a tag that read "To no one from someone." Curiosity gripped them until they opened the box to find a photo of themselves, taken that very moment, with a handwritten message on the back, "You're next." Story 32. It will all be okay soon, I murmured to my wife as I held the drink to her lips and she gulped down the Gatorade. I reapplied the duct tape on her mouth, checked her rope restraints and shut the trunk of the car as I called up my brother and said, "It's happened again, I need your help to make her forget." Story 33. Before my cat died, he would sometimes jump onto my bed at night and sleep on atop me. Some lonely nights, I can still feel his little body pressing against my chest. Story 34. My daughter has always had the innate ability to sense the future. However, today she hasn't come out of her room. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 35. They always told us that the galaxies were moving apart too fast to be reached. If we had listened, we could be at home with our families right now and not in this hell. Story 36. I'm making so much money with my new DoorDash gig. A little poison in the orders means no one's going to bother me when I come back later to break in. Story 37. I smiled at my daughter's writing assignment, which read, "One day my child will look at me the way I look at my parents." My heart dropped when I noticed the prompt, "Write about your worst fear." Story 38. Santa, please take me home, I miss mommy and daddy. Sorry Billy, but I've checked my list twice, and you were a very naughty boy this year, so you will have to dig coal until next Christmas. Story 39. NOV23. I don't know what possessed me to go cave diving alone. I don't think anyone is coming. Story 40. After Dad's trip to Southeast Asia, I wondered why he wanted to use a separate towel. I found out a few days later when the eggs hatched and the itching around my vulva started. Story 41. As I walked down an alleyway, I followed a woman thinking she was a perfect target. As I turn around and yank off the white mask she was wearing, I saw the long slit mouth as she asked, "Do you believe I'm pretty?" Story 42. I've always broken everything I touched. Today I ended up learning that goes for people, too. Story 43. I was horrified when I got bitten by one of the undead beasts. What horrified me more is that when I turned I still had full control over my actions. Story 44. After 3 days with a huge zit on my cheek I finally popped it. I've been squeezing a gritty black sludge out for 10 minutes and there has been no signs of stopping. Story 45. Don't worry, Mr. Dr. Williams is an expert in your type of tumor, the nurse voice calmed me down as the anesthetics kicking in. At the corner of my eye, I saw the doctor was loading a shotgun. Story 46. I jumped in front of the water gun to save my toddler from being soaked by his friend. Only to remember that I am allergic to water and I died. Story 47. After being abducted I was in shock. Luckily one of my abductor's servants took pity on me, he even fed me a perfect pomegranate, to nurse me back to health. Story 48. As I lay motionless in my garden I thanked the powers above that I could at least enjoy this serene and beautiful view. I had thought that my paralyzed body would perish of dehydration before the insects and scavengers began their feast. Story 49. Thick thighs save lives, read the poster. I looked down at my fresh stumps, hoping my donation fed the men well for the battle. Story 50. In the eerie silence of the night I heard a faint tapping on my bedroom window. Slowly I rose, walking over to the window, only to find nothing but my own reflection, frowning, staring, and crying. Story 51. Those vampires will never drink my blood, I proclaim with a gun in hand. It wasn't until after I started my phlebotomy did my darkening vision see a figure loom over me. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 52. My toddler was giggling trying to feed the rabbit, peeking its head from the rabbit hole. Only took a second for me to notice the long, thin fingers perking the rabbit up and only one more for him to be gone forever. Story 53. I told my husband I didn't care how long our daughter slept as long as she didn't cry before 6 a.m. It's 5 years later and she still hasn't woken up. Story 54. I have spent my whole life trying to find a way to clone myself. It was only when I found my own body in the garden, that I realized I already succeeded. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.